I just want to comment first, and then I will.
Yeah.
And this idea of building the pipeline, actually, we had a conservative government before, like Stephen Harper was here, and he was unable to build any pipelines. You don't have to be only on the power, but you have to be able to convince the other countries or provinces. So it needs a lot of work to build.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my comment. It doesn't mean somebody's conservative will be able to build.
To just go through. No, we're a federation. We have to work together. Yeah.
That's my comment. But then my question is, I don't want this is probably a topic that's kind of people don't want to touch it, but we also for peace,
Mm-hmm.
and we don't want these wars going on in the world, especially in the Middle East, and it's a very sensitive issue. But we expect the Prime Minister to be a candidate for peace. Somebody who wanna. We still have a lot of Pierre talking about all this. We need somebody. So, what do you think? You guys are for going to bring a peace? I know it's very difficult to end the wars.
Yeah.
But at least you have to be a peace candidate who want to bring people together. So.
Yeah. I think like I mentioned earlier, I'm a mom. I have 2 kids, and I've grown up here. So I think it goes without saying how privileged I have been. And when I see what's happening in the world, my heart just breaks. I can't imagine trying to raise my family in that. I can't imagine the heartbreak that your community has experienced and that families on both sides have experienced. But I also want to acknowledge that this is my first time running. I am not a foreign policy expert. And so I think, kind of what I can bring to the table and what I do agree with is the Liberal Party has been very clear about we want to see a ceasefire. We want to see hostages on both sides returned. We want to continue to provide humanitarian aid, and we want to see a future where we have a 2-state solution where people can live with dignity and respect that they deserve. And certainly I share those values, and you hit the nail on the head. If there were easy answers, we would have found them by now. But what I can tell you too is I've heard from many people in this community that this thing that can feel really far away isn't, that it is really impacting the people of this community. And what I can tell you is that I see you and I hear you and my heart hurts for you. And I strongly believe that one of the roles of your MP is to take that and to bring that to Ottawa and to carry your voices. And I would commit to doing that and to really being here with the community and doing what we can to support peace.
How far is the riding actually?
It's like this whole corner, yeah. It's like Lago Lindo down to the river valley to the Yellowhead, kind of this L.
How far west east you go here?
East 90.
I want to make a comment what brother was saying about apprenticeship. As you said, the double soul age, I was one of them. In 3 years, I couldn't get even the apprenticeship blue book. And the idea was when I went to the ATA office, you have to have experience in order somebody to endanger you. And nobody's endangering you unless you have the experience. So luckily, I don't know who built this thing someday. They canceled in terms of sponsorship. Now you can apply the blue book online.
Oh, okay.
So at least that one is existing right now. I don't know how they did it, but what I would love to add is one day, and I would like to, campaign for it too, that instead of having Alberta apprenticeship, the initial should be the Canadian Apprenticeship Association.
Yes.
So in terms of you having 1 year, you can automatically go to Ottawa, Ontario. And the reason why, I don't know if somebody boiler makers are here. Last year, they were getting second-year boiler makers at the refinery, at the nuclear plant at Thunder Bay, Sudbury. I was qualified to go to the job, but because I didn't finish my Red Seal interprofessional, I wasn't allowed.
Right.
And that right there was a barrier to entry in terms of economic, and I didn't like that. That's a labor, barrier to that.
Also, I look forward to really getting into it, but there is a lot in the platform that talks about, it's not just about physical trade of physical goods. Like, it's great that we can get something in Nova Scotia and we can buy it here, but that also applies to job mobility. I have a friend who is a registered nurse. They were registered in Ontario and then they moved out west, and trying to move their nursing license with them was incredibly expensive and just so many hoops to jump through. And so a lot of this is talking about both the credentials that people have and being able to move across Canada and have those credentials apply, but also talking about now, the regulation. So, you do half a project in Alberta and then you move to Saskatchewan and now the rules have slightly changed. And so bringing the provinces together to either say, we have one standard and this is what it is, or recognizing that will take time to do, coming to an agreement that says, if I'm in Saskatchewan, but this piece was done in Alberta, I recognize that and you can kind of come here as well. So there's a couple of approaches, but that's one of the key, after the election is done, if Carney wins, bringing the premiers together and having that conversation about how do we trade, how do we keep credentials and allow employment mobility, and how do we work in a world where we recognize each other's standards. So I think that's all really exciting and will help with job creation and cutting through some of that bureaucracy. Well, and I think you're hitting on an area where I know a little bit, and that's always dangerous. If you know a little bit, you talk too much. But my understanding as well is from reading the platform is he really wants to invest in both conventional and green energy. But in order to get our conventional energy into certain markets, like within Europe, we have to basically prove to them that we have steps in place to protect the environment, whether that's carbon capture or the industrial carbon tax. So by keeping those things in place, we can prove to them that we are taking those steps, and that opens that trade line. So it's kind of important to keep both of them there, but it's teetering on the edge of things that I don't know. So if you have more kind of concrete questions, I'm happy to take them away and look into them and learn, but definitely an area that I need to dig into more.
So do you think that Nigeria or Saudi Arabia, they care about environmental?
No, but I think we have to control what we can. Like, I don't know what their standards are,
They don't care.
but
They just making production and money.
yeah, but I think we should care. And so we should be doing what we can to protect. Yeah.
Well, waxaan soo noqonaynaa ridingka iyo Edmonton. We're gonna go back a little bit to the riding. You have been knocking the doors. We don't have the numbers, but I think Manning is one of the ridings that has the largest Somali community in Edmonton. So have you met Somalis at the doors, and what did they tell you, other than the general issues, or with the general issues, what they tell you?
Yeah, it's been, I've had a lot of people ask me, like, what is the number one issue that you're hearing at the doors? And I keep struggling with that question because I think everybody's story is unique and the things that they're concerned about are equally unique. So we've definitely talked about a lot of the things we've talked about tonight. Employment, trade, the economy, cost of living is all really coming up. But I don't know. It's hard to answer that question. I think even from people that I have talked to from the community, it's a lot of those types of issues and just really feeling like we need a voice for Edmonton Manning that's here and present and listening and ready to hear you where you are and bring your story to Ottawa. And I think it's always awkward for me to talk about myself like this because I try to be very humble, but I think when people see me, they see somebody who genuinely cares. And so my reception has been really positive. I've had people, on the steps I'm sitting, I've just met them 5 minutes ago and we're hugging and they're crying or, they're telling me their story. It really does matter to me.
One thing I noticed is that I didn't see your signs that much. You gotta do more.
Yeah, signs are a thing. It's been really interesting for me because, kind of as we started this conversation, Liberal candidates haven't always had the most ground footing here. And this is my first time running. So we started with zero. It was me and my friend who said that she would be my financial agent because I needed one. And shortly after, I found a campaign manager. And shortly after, somebody came forward and said they'd be a... So it's been a few weeks. I didn't get my formal nomination for this seat until 2 days after the election was called. So when I put it into perspective of that, in 3.5 weeks, we've managed to fundraise enough that there are signs out. I have a full stack team. I've heard other areas actually pay their people. I'm not. Everybody on my team is here because they have a shared vision and they want to help. So I've got people outdoor knocking, 8 hours a day, and they're with me. And it's just been really incredible. And so as much as I wish that we had this really big budget and we could go and do all of the things, it's just equally been really overwhelming in the best way possible to see Edmonton Manning come together and support this. So I hear you, we'll get more sides, but we're doing so good. I have business cards. I don't know if we have flyers in the car. I may have forgotten them. We do. Okay, yes.
Also links, not only the flyers, but you can share the link too.
Yeah.
I'm just watching 338 Canada.
Me too, every morning, yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of people who call today and ask me this event, they were talking about you have a chance to win. As far as I remember, Edmonton Manning was a conservative riding since when it was Edmonton East, and now few elections it's Edmonton Manning, and then all those elections was won your opponent Abdulatif. So, what do you think? Just you're pushing it, but how likely that you're gonna have a chance to win?
Depends on when you ask me that question. I believe we started with about a 9% chance on 338 of winning this. And so I came into it saying, you know, the odds are not in my favor, but this is something I truly believe in, and I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna work as hard as I can. And we're just gonna see where we end up. And so that kind of is where I still am. Some days I'm like, yes, absolutely, like I've got this, we're gonna do it. Other days I look at the polls and I go, I don't know, it could be a coin toss. So I'm trying not to count my chickens before they hatch, as they say, and just really make sure that I'm waking up every morning and putting absolutely everything that I've got into this. And at least that way I know come election day, no matter what happens, I've done everything I possibly could. And like I said, I'm really proud of how far we've come.
When answering Mohammed's question, you said we raised enough. What's enough?
Oh, a lot more than I thought. I don't know. So I have a finance agent and she keeps track of all of the money, which is wonderful. And so I have someone who's keeping track of our signs and our flyers. I'm really focused 110% on getting my face in people's faces and meeting people. I do know, though, that we have passed the $10,000 mark, which is where you need an auditor to come in and review everything. So I know for sure we've crossed that. I'm being told we've actually doubled that in 4 weeks, so over $20,000.
I asked that question because I'm thinking maybe there are prospective candidates in the room so that they know they need to raise a lot of money. So we will gonna go one more round for questions, and then welcome. Hold on.
I just want to go back to that 338 comment. So there's 12% that are voting NDP, but we know they're not going to win a seat in that riding. So what would you tell like progressive voters in that area to be able to actually give the progressives like a fair chance at winning a seat in Edmonton?
I know, I'll choose my words carefully here. I know other parties are really encouraging the strategic vote. That's not something that we have really been endorsing at the doors. I think that people need to vote for their own personal reasons. And so I know some people are voting strategically, some people are voting because of a value alignment, some people are like, the reasons are varied. And I think it's really important to not pressure people or put optics on, like, you need to vote in a way that you feel comfortable and confident with. So I'm not gonna shut down the strategic vote, but I also have been trying really hard not to, encourage people at the doors, like, don't vote for that person, vote for me. I think part of our democracy really relies on having that flexibility to make that decision. And so I've really been focused on saying, this is me, this is what I stand for, this is what I'll do for you, and I hope that you vote in a way that, works with you and your conscience. So it's tricky though, because I see it. Of course I see it and I go, oh, if only, but I don't ever want to pressure somebody to vote for reasons like that.
If we're gonna go back to the riding, there are few people that I know they live in the riding.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them, they said they already voted, but the polls where you can, polling stations where you can vote are limited during the advanced polling. So where and when they can vote for the advanced polling? Do you know in your head?
It varies depending on where you are in the riding. So you should have had a voting card come home. If not, you can just go to the Elections Canada website, put in your postal code, and it will tell you where it is. But I was just commenting on the way in. It sounds like, I've been outside all day. I haven't been able to watch the news, but it sounds like yesterday we did break a record for advanced polling. We had the most people come out that I don't know if we've ever had, but it was a lot. I know I waited in line over an hour, which also tells me that it's exciting. People want to have a say here. So definitely get out and vote. You still have advanced polling. Today's Saturday? So Sunday, Monday's advanced polling, and then the election on the 28th.
And when you say we broke the record,
Turnout.
Do you mean turnout in general or turnout in
Whole
Manning?
country, but
Whole
we felt it here in Manning too. Like I said, I waited about an hour. I heard from some other people it was between 45 to 2 hours, no matter the polling station yesterday. So very, very exciting.
There were aad iyo aad u mahadsantihiin gabagabadii baan soo gaarnay waxaan isku dayaynaa inaan barnaamijkeena gabagabaysano I will give a candidate to wrap it up and then we can hang around and discuss after we're done handshakes or conversations. And so go ahead, you can wrap it up.
Well, I just want to say thank you so much. Like I was, saying, as a first-time candidate, this experience has just been absolutely incredible. Every night I go home and I just look at my husband and think, I love Edmonton Manning. So I just want to thank you guys for coming out today and making time for this. And just really want to reinforce too, I truly believe that the job of your member of parliament is to shut up and listen. I don't have all the answers, but I do know that I'm here and I'm listening and I really want to take your voice to Ottawa. I want to advocate for us. I think that it's been a long time since we've had a really strong voice for Edmonton Manning. And if you would be willing to vote for me, I would sure appreciate it. I think we can do some really good things together in the next 4 years. So that's all I would say. Thank you.
Thank you, Claire. waxaan kusoo gabagabeynayaa marka xiga aad iyo aad baa u mahadsantihiin waan idinkaga mahadcelinayaa waqtigiina qiimaha badan madasha furan raadiyaha haddana dhegeysta haddii la yidhaahdo youtube-ka facebookga iyo tiktok-gana nagala socda aad iyo aad baan idinkaga mahadcelinayaa asalaamu calaykum waraxmatullaahi wabarakaatu